There are a lot of people that start on this journey toward minimalism or decluttering that sometimes just get lost along the way, throw up their hands, and give up. And today I want to look at 10 reasons, 10 wrong reasons to begin decluttering, reasons that will probably cause you to fail. And at the end of that, we're going to look at the one reason that really matters. Then we're going to backtrack and talk about how that counteracts those wrong decisions that we sometimes make. So stick around. You'll want to see it all. One of the first reasons that people get wrong is to try to declutter to impress other people. They're trying to make their space such that when people come to visit, it gets compliments. It gets people to comment on it. It gets people to think, oh, this person has their act together. And that's an entirely wrong reason to start decluttering. Another reason that is sort of the wrong way to get started is when people try to start decluttering without a plan. They sort of mistake decluttering with just moving things around and finding a place for everything that didn't used to be in a place. And so they're really just rearranging. They're not really decluttering. Another reason that trips people up is that they're trying to do it all at once. And by trying to do it all at once, they get overwhelmed. It's better to sort of nibble at things, to take a small chunk here and a small chunk there. Start with a closet, start with a drawer, start with a room, and just work with that until you're satisfied. But take your time. And another thing that sort of gets people caught up is this decluttering out of guilt. And so when they begin decluttering and they start running across all of these sentimental items or the gifts that people have given them through the years or, these kinds of things, they get bogged down with a sense of guilt about getting rid of those things. And eventually they just sort of taper off and stop. And then there is the problem of buying things to store items before you really know what it is you're decluttering. And so you get these containers, you go to Walmart or Target or the Container Store or IKEA, and you find these really cute little things to hold items. And so you just wind up placing things rather than actually going through the process of decluttering first and then deciding what you need. Another wrong reason, and certainly not one that impacts me, not by a long shot, is to declutter in an attempt to attain perfection. You're wanting the perfect home. You're wanting the perfect environment. You're wanting the perfect this or that. And so you begin this decluttering process to try to create something that's perfect. And when it doesn't quite meet the bill, then you decide, well, what's the point? And we give up. And then there is the thing about specific sentimental items. I'm talking about specific ones, because we seem to misunderstand that the item is not the memory. Those two things are separate. You can still maintain the memory without having the item, but people get caught here. And so they think, well, I can't get rid of this because it means this to me, and I can't get rid of that because it means this to me. And this is our first trip out of the country, and I have to save this coffee mug because it reminds. You don't need a coffee mug to remind you of the trip. Another problem is when we set out to declutter things that don't belong to us. I think Sam over at Simply Clutter Free addresses this really well. There are her items. There are her husband's specific items for both his work and his hobbies. And then their kids have items. And she doesn't make the decision to declutter her husband's stuff or to declutter her kids' stuff. She lets them make those decisions for themselves. And it doesn't matter. that they don't want to declutter the way she would declutter. It's not her stuff. But we get caught here. And so then when the arguments start, or the kids start whining, you got rid of this and I really wanted, that was the only toy I ever wanted to play with. And, then we just throw up our hands and say, forget it. And then there are people who attempt to declutter to solve something. There is a more deeply seated emotional problem going on, or a lifestyle problem going on that really needs to be addressed before the decluttering begins. And when they start decluttering and they realize it's not solving the problem, again, they just give up and quit. And then there's probably the biggest mistake I think that people make, and that is they just declutter to get rid of stuff. They don't really have a plan. They don't really know where they're going when it's over, but they just know they need to chunk a few things here and there. They need to feel good about delivering something to the charity store, or, they need to feel good about donating this to their church or whatever. But it's not really decluttering. It's just picking and choosing certain things to get rid of without really addressing what your home could be like if you truly decluttered. And so this is where we come to the one thing that really matters. It matters for people to make a home that they truly enjoy and to create a space that gives them the freedom to breathe. And I'm going to read this to you. If we strip away all the wrong motivations, the core right reason, the one that is most powerful, most sustainable, and most likely to benefit the majority of people is this: to create a functional, comfortable space that genuinely improves your daily life and reduces stress. And the reason that this works primarily, number one, you're prioritizing your needs. You figure out what that is first. What is it that you need to have a space that gives you room to breathe? And it also encourages mindful decluttering rather than just mindless trashing. It gives you a sense of purpose for every single item you handle. You have a sense of purpose about why you're choosing to keep it or why you're choosing to let it go. And that's powerful. And probably more important is that it creates a result for you that works because it is strongly aligned with how you have decided you want to live. Now, it doesn't matter if you get rid of everything in your house except 33 items, or if you just declutter a closet. It doesn't matter. As long as you're making that decision for you, based on what you need to live a comfortable life inside the confines of your home. So here's how this sort of negates all of the wrong reasons. We talked about the wrong reason of impressing other people. You do away with that right off the bat because you're making decisions specifically for you, for your lifestyle, and you don't care. You no longer give a rip about what people think when they come into your home. People that come in and say, oh my gosh, I could never live here. There's nothing on the walls. Who cares? You have made a decision for you. And that whole idea of not having a goal in mind, you have a goal in mind, and that is that you want to reduce stress in your life. You want to reduce decision-making fatigue in your life, and you are going about that with a singular focus. And so we talked about the fact that people are trying to do everything all at once, and this plan gives you the sense of purpose of doing one thing at a time, taking things one piece at a time. You want to declutter this closet because you have a particular view of your clothing and the things that you want in order to live more comfortably, and the things that you don't want in order to live more comfortably. And you're not trying to do it all at once. You might take a month on your bedroom closet, just nitpicking here and there until you make the right decisions for you. In fact, you might pull things out of the closet and not even get rid of them right away. You might just move them temporarily. See how that feels for a little bit. See if there's anything out there that you wish you hadn't moved, and put it back. Try that for a little while. You're always looking toward this single purpose. And then this whole idea about decluttering out of guilt. By using this single purpose in mind, you are decluttering mindfully based on usefulness, not emotional attachment, not guilt. So what if Aunt Jane gave you this spatula? You have another spatula that you like better. Is Aunt Jane ever going to really know that you've gotten rid of the spatula she gave you? And if she does, is it the end of the world? No, because you're making mindful decisions, not guilt-ridden ones. And then this whole idea about going out and buying containers in order to hold the stuff after you've decluttered, before you begin decluttering, by taking this one single purpose in mind, then you have the ability to get to where you know what things you need up front before you ever go buy anything. This is sort of how things went with my closet, which was the first thing that I decluttered, was my bedroom closet. Once I got rid of the things I didn't need and I saw how much room I had in the closet, then I realized I didn't really need the dresser any longer in my bedroom, and I could buy containers to put in the closet, one container for underwear, one for t-shirts, one for socks, one for printed t-shirts that have, sayings on them, whatever. Space on the bottom to put shoes, all those kinds of things was decided afterward. And it made so much more sense as I moved to the next phase of decluttering. And then this whole idea about perfectionism. I am not a perfectionist, although some would say that procrastination is really from a perfectionist who is afraid of failure. And I procrastinate a lot. But I think I really procrastinate because I'm lazy. It's not the same thing. But by focusing on this one idea, you give up the idea that everything has to be perfect. You're looking for what is going to work for your life, not some fairy tale idea of where perfection may fall on that spectrum. And then, the one big thing that attacks a lot of people is this idea of sentimentality. I have so many items with sentimental memories. Well, I have some of those too. I've gotten rid of some because I felt free to do that. Maybe you don't. That's okay. But I've talked about in previous videos, there are things in my home that serve absolutely no purpose for me whatsoever, except they just remind me of someone in my life who's no longer here. And I will cherish those things forever, and I will hang on to them forever. But I've also given my kids permission. They don't have to do that when I'm gone. Those items mean something to me. They don't have to mean anything to them. And that's perfectly fine. And then this whole idea about decluttering other people's things. I mean, let's just get real here. The last thing you want to do is start a fight. You don't want to declutter your spouse's stuff and then find you've gotten rid of something that they really, truly never wanted to live without, because they will never truly forgive you. And so you focus on what is going to bring you to that place. What among your things are going to make a difference? And I've heard this from a few people in the comments. A couple of people have reached out to me privately that once they started decluttering their things, their spouse had no intention of ever decluttering anything. It was not something that was even remotely thought to be useful for them. But once they saw the results of their spouse's decluttering, they're like, I do have maybe this space in the garage I could do something with. Or maybe I don't need all of these things in the living room. all the time. And they start bit by bit to sort of come around and do their part. Not always, don't get me wrong, not always, but sometimes it has that effect on people, and that's powerful. When you decide to center yourself on what is truly functional for me to create the space that I want, you then separate this from other kinds of emotional baggage you may be carrying. You may need to go see someone, talk to someone, your pastor, a counselor, a friend, about some of these emotional baggages that you carry, but you don't try to fix that through decluttering. Your decluttering has a specific purpose, totally unrelated to these other issues. And then that last one that so many people get wrong, of just thinking that decluttering is just getting rid of stuff. You have realized by using this simple reason for decluttering that you are maybe changing the term from decluttering to curating. You're curating the items in your house. Like they would curate examples in a museum. You are deciding what people see. You're deciding what you will live with. And everything else can either go in a closet if you're not ready to get rid of it yet, or it can go away. But you have created what this, curated, not created, you have curated what this space is going to look like according to the vision that you've set for yourself. So let me finish with this short quote. By decluttering with the intention of building a supportive, functional environment that reduces stress and works for your life, you sidestep all of the common pitfalls and make changes that last and actually improve your everyday experience. And that, my friend, is powerful. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. Have you begun and failed at decluttering? What do you think caused you to fail? Have you found the key for yourself as to what decluttering is all about? What is that key you can share with other people? Let me know in the comments. And again, thank you for watching.